Hello and welcome to Adaptations of a Creature on a Distant Dark Planet by Matthew Aquilina, Alanna Grech, and Tyler Beale. I hope you enjoy.
We have landed on a mysterious, uncharted planet in a galaxy distant from our own. The sun that the planet was presumably rotating around exploded millions of years ago. Almost all life was wiped out on the planet. Now the planet floats around rogue in a universe with no sun to gravitate around. As such, there is no visible light that touches the planet. This means that the planet is very cold. All through the core of the planet is still rotating and active, which means heat is emitted from the center of the world through thermal vents and volcanoes. The planet is quite Earth-like, in the way that there are predators and herbivores. And the terrain is very similar to Earth, having vast oceans and lush green forests. The area that we landed in is thick with vegetation like that of an untouched Amazon back on Earth.
While the crew ventured out and were out of the spacecraft exploring the terrain, after some time they quickly realized they were being stalked by a predator in the dark world. They hurried their pace but were set upon by the unknown creature. To cut the story short, after a brutal battle, the mighty creature was slain. The crew was curious about the new creature, so insisted they bring the unknown specimen onto the ship. After further examination, notes were taken regarding the creature's appearance. The creature was covered with thick, fluffy fur as to keep the creature warm due to the low temperatures of the surface of the planet. The fur was surprisingly lacking any sort of pigmentation like an albino creature back on Earth, possibly to reserve energy rather than waste it on the pigment that would never be seen by many creatures, as they lack eyesight that relies on light. Its claw is very large and thickly curved, with sharp points much like the deadly claws a velociraptor used to slaughter and disembowel its prey. The creature was thickly set, with large bulging muscles and a sturdy frame very similar in appearance to a lion or a tiger. A lion or a tiger would use his body type to have powerful movements and can chase down prey and stalk and pounce, much as this creature demonstrated previously. Its teeth were razor sharp, again like a velociraptor, although its jaws were similar to a hyena, which means it had a strong jaw. This would mean that the creature would have an extremely hard bite force, possibly over 1,100 psi. The creature also had a thick tail that could function both as balance and fat storage, housing large quantities of brown fat. This would store large quantities of energy as well. To find out more about the creature, the crew spent as much time as possible observing more of the creatures close to their dens and watching while they hunted. The crew observed the creatures with the aid of thermal infrared cameras and tracking devices when possible, like how other creatures were studied back on Earth. It was found that they live in small packs of 5 to 9 members, much like lions, huddling together to sleep, share food, and help raising young as a group. They do not carry young like mammals, but instead lay eggs, not to be disadvantaged while hunting, leaving the eggs and young to be cared by both the elder and the younger members of the den, hunting in packs as to bring down larger kills than possible by a single creature. Overall, the most amazing adaptation of the creature to living on the dark planet was its sensory adaptations. Those were having receptors in its legs to be able to detect low-frequency ground vibrations of rustling prey hiding in bushes, having a heightened sense of smell like a bear, being able to sniff and track down prey from miles away, and had large forward-facing eyes of a predator. Although there is no light on the planet, the eyes are not focused for light waves but rather heat signals, seeing the world through something like an infrared vision.
Upon further dissection on the hell predator's legs, a collective of organs were found in each of its legs around the area of the shin. These organs bear great resemblance to subgenual organs found in the species of cave cricket Rhapidoridae. Similarity in their organ structure and environmental conditions have led us to believe that these organs are used similarly to sense vibrations from the ground and air from various sources. Due to the lack of natural light in their natural environment, the hell predator evolved subgenual organs located in each of their legs to hear low-frequency vibrations of 600 to 1000 Hz. This has allowed them to detect the presence of prey around them, contact other members of their species, and to find suitable mates. As the hell predator lives with no source of natural light, it's suspected that the organs found in the legs also hold the same purpose as those found in the Earth species of cave crickets. The organ's evolution may have been due to trouble finding prey that has also adapted to survive from varying alien predators. We can conclude that these organs aid in hunting for a food source and allowing them to keep track of moving prey without the use of ocular organs. Scolopedial sensilia is a sensory receptor found within varying Earth species as a way to detect noise around them, usually in the case where that species lacks hearing organs. Cases where Scolopedial sensilia has evolved in species is also quite common, with the Earth species of cave cricket Scolopedial sensilia evolving to detect low-frequency ground vibrations, but their subgenual organs lack tibia tympana, part of the organ required for filtering noise. Due to living in a constantly dark environment with no natural light, we can assume that the Scolopedian sensilia in the hell predator's legs has undergone a similar evolution. This has then evolved further to sense higher frequency vibrations traveling through the air, and lower pitched vibrations traveling through the ground. The hind legs presented larger amounts of evolved Scolopedial sensilia, which may have evolved to more easily detect lower frequency vibrations, while the forelegs are used to detect higher frequency vibrations. Once vibrations are picked up by the legs, the array of subgenual organs receive these vibrations through a mixture of nerve pathways into the organ array, or through the surrounding extracellular fluid the organs are floating in. Further research into the hell predator's subgenual organs array structure showed arrangement of sensory cells and intermediate organs comprising the array, being connected to proximal and distal organs, as well as a variety of nerves. Sensory cells were found to form patterns within the array, like arrays found in the Earth species of cave cricket, with these arrangements making quicker and easier for vibrations to be transferred from stimuli around the array. Proximal, distal, and intermediate organs are used to analyze vibrations received through the nerves and fluid pathways, allowing the hell predator to accurately discern what the vibration came from, as well as the distance and strength of the vibration received. The organ array showed minor differences in forelegs and hind legs, with a higher amount of nerve endings being found in the organ array in the hind legs, while the forelegs contained less nerve endings but larger nerves. This may have evolved to allow the hell predator to more easily feel low-frequency vibrations through the hind legs, where the forelegs containing less nerve endings and bigger nerves, being able to pick up higher frequency vibrations through the air.
The predator had large, slitted and curved nostrils, resembling that of a bear or a dog, with a large, wet, black nose on the tip of its muzzle, displaying much resemblance to predators back on Earth. Although the predator had a much larger nose than that of a bear, and it was respectively moister, having a thick, slimy mucus layer. The nose of this creature is yet another adaptation it's taking on to hunting in a world with no light, relying on a strong sense of smell to detect, track, and identify potential prey or other creatures in its dark environment. The thick, wet mucus layer covering the nose helps to capture and retain any odorants the breeze carries. The curved, slitted nose, similar to that of a dog, allows it the ability to inhale small particles in the air called odorants, which are tiny particles of fat and proteins. Breathing them in at a particular area of the nostrils and exhaling them through another as to allow the concentration of odorants in the nose to build up rather than dilute. Once odorants are breathed in, there are two ways the air can travel: down the trachea to the lungs of the beast, or towards where the olfactory sensory neurons lie. In the case they travel towards where smell is perceived, the small particles will become lodged in the mucus layer. Particles are then able to bind to receptors on the olfactory sensory neurons. Once the neurons have reached an excitatory state, an action potential is released, which travels up the long axon of the neuron. This action potential continues till it converges with the dendrites of another nerve cell called a mitral cell, which is located in the glomerus. Each mitral cell is synapsed with numerous axons of olfactory sensory neurons, each identifying and representing a single volatile chemical. Once a mitral cell picks up its signal from an olfactory neuron, the message is then relayed through the olfactory tract to the olfactory cortex of the brain. The message of the response to the odorant is then processed by two avenues. One direction in which the message can process is to send the message to the olfactory lobe of the brain, where the odorant can be consciously identified. The other sends the message to the limbatic system of the brain, which is composed of parts such as the hypothalamus and the amygdala. This allows the odorant to be emotionally processed, which is fast, intense, quick, and acts as a primal sort of trigger to memories and emotions associated with what the beast is smelling. If the predator smells the odorants released from, say, a wounded prey creature, such as another creature that we found during our expedition on the Dark World, a herbivorous prey creature resembling an Earth Australian wombat, although with a few customary outlandish Dark World adaptations, the odorants released from the creature's coat and wound or blood would translate to conscious thoughts of what type of creature it is, assuming it's crossed paths with it before, and that it's wounded and may make for easy prey. So that might be an example of what sort of conscious thoughts the odorants might invoke, while the emotional thoughts of these supposed odorants may cause the feeling of a warm, full belly after consuming a meal, or the feeling of contentness after consuming the meal.
One last final warning for those who may venture to the dark world. If this animal was ever brought back to a place like Earth, it would surely cause the destruction of many species and kill many humans, as it is an apex predator built for one thing only, the destruction of life. This last warning goes out to anyone. Our crew has perished, and whatever happens, do not bring back the hell predator to Earth, as it will surely cause the destruction of Earth. Signing off, Matthew Aquilina.